Hey guys, so I wanted to make a little video today, kind of a start to finish edit and just kind of going through the stuff that I do to get the final image. Basically a lot of you guys have been asking how I produce some of the images I've been doing, particularly some of my latest stuff. Been getting a lot of positive feedback, so I thought I'd just kind of show you how I do that. But also from speaking to people, I think some people don't actually realise how much work goes in. They kind of think, oh, you take a photo, go home, upload it, and that's it. But that's not the case. There's quite a lot of editing that goes on, so probably be helpful for those guys as well, just to see what work goes into it, really. So yeah, we'll get into the editing and go from there. So we're in Photoshop now. This is the raw image, and as you can see, I wouldn't be uploading this as a final product. There's parts of the background missing, but I'm completely aware of this when I'm shooting. Fact of the matter is, I don't have large backdrops, so I have to work with what I've got. So what I do is when I'm shooting the image, I just make sure that the top of the backdrop isn't going through the top of the subject's head. And the reason for that is quite simple. Just when you're editing, it just makes life easier. So I just make sure that the subject is well within the background. That just makes my life a lot easier when it comes to the edit. I suppose I should kind of talk about how I captured the image with lighting setups and stuff. It was quite a simple lighting setup. One light umbrella, 70-inch umbrella off to the left, subject in the middle, obviously camera down from the bottom, and the background is the black line you see at the top. Over on the right hand side, I haven't actually put it in, but it's just a blank space, but basically this is just quite a large white wall which is acting as a reflector, so I didn't need to spend any money kind of getting extra reflectors or flags in or anything like that. So yeah, it's quite a simple setup, but it's really effective. The light's really soft. So okay, we'll get into the editing now. Just unlock that. So we want to get rid of kind of all the folds and things off the backdrop, and obviously fill in this area here. I do that using a patch tool generally. It just gives you a little bit more control. You can use a spot healing brush as well, but I find kind of for the big areas the patch tool is a lot easier, to be honest. So I'll start this. I'll do a couple and then I'll probably speed the video up because it can be quite a tedious job to do. So you just kind of select the area, drag down and replace that area, and just keep going until you're happy that it's all done. So I'll speed the video up now and I'll come back once I've finished this step. Okay, so that's the background kind of filled in. It's a little bit distracting, to be honest. So you got like it doesn't look like that's part of the backdrop completely. It does look a little bit edited. But what I do is I start to blend it a little bit, and I do that using the mixer brush tool. What you do have to be careful with the mixer brush tool is as you start blending the colours and the shades, you can lose texture. So I try not to go overboard with this. I just kind of blend it a little bit, just reset the swatches there, the different colours right. So I kind of just smudge a little bit, and you can just see it starting to blend, and it becomes a little bit less obvious what you've done. Just got to be a little bit careful around the subject. You don't want to start smudging the details on the subject. I'm not too concerned about this side here actually. Once I put the darker vignette around here, this isn't going to be as obvious anyway. And actually I'm going to put a little bit of a crop on it as well. So we'll just crop that down a little bit. Don't want to lose her feet, so we'll just move that back down that way a tad. This way a little bit. Let's have a look at that. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So next stage will be to concentrate on kind of getting away any textures in the skin, things like that. Frequency separation is basically what I'm going to be doing. Frequency separation is quite a tricky one to explain, but basically you're separating the textures from the colours, so you can adjust textures without affecting the colours and vice versa, so you can change colours without affecting the textures. Really, really useful. I'm not going to go too deep into how I do it. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube, things like that, or if you really want to know, I could perhaps do a tutorial myself. I use a plugin at the moment which is a lot easier, but I am able to do them myself if I want to. So we'll start that now. So, got to adjust the radius. We're just going to blur it a little bit. I'm guessing about 5. What you want to do is just blur until you can still make out the features. About 7's good. So yeah, you can still make out the features, but it's blurring the skin a tad. So it's softening the skin. Apply that. And then what I do is I add a layer in between. And I'll explain this a little bit later. We're just going to concentrate on the textures for now. So if I click texture here, don't worry, it's going to look a little bit crazy, but it just helps me to spot the imperfections in the skin and things like this, the hair. You don't want the hair coming down across the face like that, it doesn't look great. So using the stamp tool, just going to take a sample from an area which I like, so good areas of the skin, and just replace it. I'll do this for a little bit, show you what I'm doing, and then I'll probably fast forward it again, just because this is quite time consuming. I'm trying to keep the videos short, so I'll just do a little bit just to give you an idea. You just have to be careful when you are doing this that you're staying away from features like the eyes. You don't want to start messing around the sort of corners of the edges of the features that need to be sharp really, because it will blur them or change them. You're using a clone stamp, so you will start ruining the picture quite quickly if you don't take a little bit of care with this. Okay, I'm going to speed the video up now. When we come back, we'll move on to adjusting the tones in the skin, just making it a little bit more even, but I'll explain that once I come back. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, I'll just put that back on. So we replace some of the textures. If I just remove that, so that's how it was before. As you can see, it makes quite a difference. So once I remove the textures, I want to even out some of the skin tones, just take off the edge of some of the shadows. You have to be careful when you're doing this. You can start sort of almost restructuring the face, as silly as that sounds, because if you're moving shadows, like here, if you lighten this up too much, all it's going to happen is it's going to make the face look quite, the chin look flat, and you're changing the structure of the face. You don't want to do that. All you're trying to do is just even out little blotches in the skin. I do that. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can use a mixer brush tool, but I find when you're using the mixer brush tool, it's quite destructive if you're not careful. I do use it for more stubborn areas, but to be honest, I try and use a brush on my own layer in between the textures and the volume. Well, they call it the volume, but it's the skin tones I call it. Yeah, so I'll change off the mixer brush tool, go into a general brush tool, a soft brush, decrease the flow to about 5 or 6. I'll go 6. You want a little bit of control. You don't want to be going 100% and just painting over everything willy-nilly, because it's going to look ridiculous. So I'm just going to take off the edge of some of these shadows. Like here, that's quite harsh shadowing. So I'll just take some of the light and just brush into that a little bit, not too much, so you can start rearranging the structure of the face. You don't want to be doing that. Yeah, a little bit. The blacks under the eyes, just ease those away a little bit. Okay, so I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. So I will fast forward again and come back once I've finished this part. See you in a minute. Okay, so I've done that a little bit quickly. It's not perfect. I'm sure if, this is a re-edit of a photo I'd actually done. I'm sure if you compare the two, they're going to look a little bit different. I'm not spending quite as much time on this one as I normally would. But as you can see, if I turn that layer, what I've just done on and off, it does make a difference. It just gets rid of some of those harsh shadows, just evens it out a little bit. But that's okay. It gives you an idea of how I do it. So next, let's have a quick look at the image, see where I'm going to go with it next. Okay, so I'm probably just going to do a little bit of work on the eyes. The eyes aren't the main focus in this, but it doesn't hurt to just give them an edit. They're there in the photos, so you might as well just edit them while I'm there. Again, I'm using a plugin. You can use dodge and burn, curve layer adjustments. I've got a plugin, the eyes tool. It's easier for me, that's how I do it. So spend a little bit of time doing this. So let's zoom in on the eye a little bit. Okay, so I won't bother with iris boost. We'll go bright iris. This just lights it up a little bit. We need the brush tool, that would help. I'm going to increase this all the way up to 100 because I can just lower the opacity after anyway. When you're doing the eyes, you need to kind of bear in mind where the light's coming from, the light source. So I know the light's coming from this way, so generally speaking the light will come through the eye, and you'll do it on the opposite side of where the light would be coming through. So that's going to be here. This isn't going to have a huge effect, as I say, because the eyes aren't the main focus point in this photo, but it doesn't hurt to do them anyway. Right, now that's going to look a bit over the top, so we'll just lower the opacity a tad. Computer's lagging out. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. So if I turn that on and off, see, it's made a bit of a difference there. It all helps, little things you think it doesn't make a difference, but at the end of the photo, when you you put it all together, there's a difference between a really nice photo and yeah, it's okay. So yeah, it's worth taking the time to do. Dodge and burn eyes. I will do a little bit of dodging and burning as well. So if I take the dodge tool, start with the mid-tones, probably about 12% is okay. We'll see how it goes. We might need to do more. Zoom in a little bit more, sorry. Okay, and it's just lightening up again the mid-tones in the eyes. Zoom out, probably going to look a bit over the top, so I should probably lower the opacity on that as well. Actually, that's okay. No, I'm happy with that. So my next step will be a little bit of sharpening, nothing too major. I'm just going to flatten down the image so if anything does go wrong, it's always worth doing that, guys, if you're in Photoshop, is flattening down images, making duplicates of layers, so that, let's say I did all this now and then I made a huge error for some reason. You don't want to be starting all over again, so it's worth just it takes 2 seconds, just make a duplicate layer or flatten the image down into a new layer. And then if anything goes wrong after this, you haven't got to start all again, you just go back to this layer. Really worth doing. So sharpening, where's my sharpening? Okay, that'll be okay. Yeah. So we're going to take a brush tool and brush this in 100%. With sharpening, I mean, it depends what you're photographing really, but when I'm doing portraits, it tends to be the eyes, the lips, perhaps some jewellery, things like that. So let's just do this now. Brush that in there, a bit there, probably on her lips, perhaps her earring. I probably won't do the book, we'll leave the book alone. Right, let's see what difference that's made. Subtle, but it all helps. Worth doing. Okay. Right, I am going to put a vignette on here now. I find the background's a little bit too light. Kind of takes away the focus point of the subject. At the end of the day, the subject is, well, it's the subject, so you want the subject to be the main point of the photo, not the background. So I'll probably just make a curves layer. There's a few ways of doing this, and you'll find this with Photoshop. Just because I'm doing it a certain way doesn't mean that's the right way. For everything I do, there's probably 5 different ways you could do it. Whatever works for you. So curves layer. Let's bring that out there a little bit and drag that down. It's a bit small. Okay, so I'm just going to lower down. Don't worry how this looks now. It's going to look ridiculous, but we're just going to paint it in where we want it. So we'll start there. I'll probably make a couple of these adjustments. And what I do is if I press Command I, that clears it, and then I paint it in where I just want it. So we'll make a nice big soft brush. We'll start painting that into the areas I want it. Kind of up the back here. Try not to go onto the hair too much. Around the edges. Okay. Right, I'm just going to make the brush smaller and paint out just in case I went into the hairline a little bit too much. Yeah, I did, so that's worth doing. Just up on her arm here, make sure I haven't got any on there. Okay. I want to make this a little bit darker here, but if I go any lower on the curves now, this is going to start going a really nasty, muddy, orangey colour, so I will swap over to an exposure adjustment, and that tends not, well, it doesn't affect the colours as much, it just darkens it off. I'm not going to go over the top with this, I'll probably do that. Same thing again, hide the layer and then paint it in where I want it. So we'll just make that brush bigger again. Yeah. So if I turn both those off, you can see that makes quite a dramatic difference. It really makes a subject pop. Okay, I'm going to flatten down the image again here. And now, with this type of photo, I quite like it to be almost a painting effect. And in fact, quite a few people have said when they saw this image after I edited it and uploaded it to my social media, they said, oh, it looks like a painting. Well, I was quite happy about that because that was the look I was going for. I achieve it. There's probably a few ways you can do it. Personally, I go filter, stylize, oil paint, and that will open up a few options here. I'm not going to mess around with these because I know this is about right where I want it. By all means, fiddle and have a play, see what you like. There is an option here called lighting, but to be honest, it makes it look too much like a painting. I find having that switched off is the bridge between it being a photo and a painting. It gives you the painting look without being too obvious, so that's what I go for. So we'll apply that now. When you're using the oil paint effect, it does kind of make some of the features soft, like the eyes. You can see it's all gone really soft. Oh wait, did that? No, that's fine. Yeah, so what I do is I'll add a layer mask, and I will change the brush to black swatch, and I will paint out where I don't want that effect happening, basically. So places like the eyes. So if I change to a brush now, and I brush over the eyes, it takes away the effect off the eyes, so it keeps them nice and sharp. Lips, it's a little bit on the nose, so we can keep the shape, perhaps just around the edges of the face. Earrings, ears. The book's lost some of its writing, so we'll just go over that, over the fingers. You don't want to lose too many details. You've taken all the time making the photo nice and sharp focus, and then you go and lose it all by, adding a filter. You don't want to be doing that. Okay, and there's a few places where it's a little bit too much in your face, but I don't want to completely take it away, so I'll drop the flow of the brush to about 20 and just paint over that a few times, just so it's not, I want a little bit of detail in the hair, you don't want it too soft. Okay, let's have a look at that. As you can see, it really gives it a nice painted effect. We'll zoom out and have a look at the whole image. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Not too far away. I'm probably just going to do a little bit of dodging and burning now across a few places on the image, the hair, just to make it pop a little bit more. Nothing too dramatic now. We're not too far away. Just going to flatten that down again. Grab the dodge tool. Probably choose highlights for this. It's selecting the highlights, and that's the parts it's going to apply it to. Back to the dodge tool. Okay. Maybe a little bit more on the eyes so we can get them to pop a little bit more. On the lips. Okay. I'm quite happy with that, guys. I'm not going to go too much further with that, really. I think you can see what a difference it makes. What I'll do is I'll just delete all the adjustment layers now, bar the original, and I can swap between the two, and you can see yourself what a difference it makes. I'll zoom in a little bit. So there's the original photo, and that's after editing. I think you agree it's quite a bit of work. I mean, that was a very quick edit. Yeah, it's worth taking the time to do, guys. You'll get yourself really nice images. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something and enjoyed it. Let me know. Cheers.